reminder tomorrow, 8 o'clock, ESPNU versus LSU. That coach, three statements.
Just looking forward to going on the road. Obviously, LSU is a really talented team, and first league road game. So we're looking forward to prep today and prep at shoot around, and then get ready to go compete.
Yeah, Eric, I think your wife tweeted a picture of you, I guess when you were at LSU and you had like a tie on and your daughter was in the back. I think she was wearing like a little LSU cheerleader outfit, it looked like. And what was that time like for you? I know you guys weren't there real long, but I know you talked about you were pretty close to going to the Timberwolves, and that might set you back on a path to stay in the NBA. Have you ever thought about, if you go to Timberwolves, you're probably not here.
Yep.
And just kind of what was that time like and getting you here, how key that was?
Yeah, I think obviously, the decision to go to LSU was kind of a family decision, I guess, because with my dad being the first coach of the Timberwolves and getting a call from Flip Saunders, who had played for my dad and I had idolized. I wanted to wear his number 14, when I played, and Flip being the head coach, part owner, running the front office, it would have probably been something that a lot of familiarity and kind of easy with his assistant coaches at the time.
Well, hello. It's our Tuesday edition here of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio on KDSJ 479 as we come to you each and every day, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. as we're on Mondays now. We'll have a 4-hour show. There's no 30-minute recap on Monday due to the conclusion of football season. But a lot to get into. Our topics today, we want to continue on. Arkansas heading to LSU to take on the LSU Tigers in Game 2 of Eric Musselman's SEC era. What do you feel like the Razorbacks will do? How do you think they'll fare tomorrow night? And what's the outlook, in the first 4 or so games? And I'm going to give you those games. We're going to read it off. We all know that they took care of A&M. Then they have LSU, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Mississippi State. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First 6 conference games. Where do you think this basketball men's Razorback team will sit 6 games into the league? And also, too, more on the Sam Pittman. Are you lukewarm, starting to heat up? What is your biggest surprise? What is your biggest concern going forward of the coach Sam Pittman there in the football part of things? But I want to go over real quick to Demetrius. And I'm reading those clips as we let you hear our audio from head men's basketball coach Eric Musselman as he previews tomorrow's big 8 o'clock ball game as the team travels to Baton Rouge to take on the LSU Tigers. 6 games in, where do you see this team, Demetrius, after that schedule? I'm going to read it off again. They took care of A&M. They're at LSU, at Ole Miss, and at Mississippi State. So 3 games home, 3 games on the road. They have in between those LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. They're going to host next week Vanderbilt, and then that big one versus the Kentucky Wildcats a week from Saturday. Where are they at?
I say no less than 4-2. 4-2 out of those games. I really like where Eric Musselman has him right now. He hasn't really competing at a high level. Guys are really enthusiastic. Seems like they really want to be out there. Like I said on yesterday's show, I think they have yet to reach their peak. Even when you look at their shooting percentage, I don't think they really guys like Isaiah Joe hasn't really just had that game where he's had that streak where he's busting 5 threes. I think the most he's had so far are 3 threes or 4 threes, one of the two. But he hasn't had one of those games where he was just on fire and couldn't miss. But you have guys like Mason Jones that are showing he can give you that end on the scoring end. And then Desi Seals giving you that kind of third option. And then you even have who's 33? I always forget his name.
33. You're talking about Jimmy Witt.
Jimmy Witt, yeah. Then you have Jimmy Witt as that kind of fourth or third option. So I really like what they have, especially from an offensive standpoint. I think they can definitely improve their shooting, but I like where they are right now.
I'm saying this basketball team can come in probably 4-2. I would not be shocked if they're 5-1, 6-0. A lot of things have to go your way to get 6-0 started, especially when you get into conference play with so many teams having so much film on you. But at the same time, this is a new Arkansas program with a lot of new offensive and defensive things that they like to do, Coach Musselman and staff. So, that makes for an interesting ball game if you're the LSU staff trying to get prepared for this Arkansas basketball team. But I like a lot of things that this team is starting to do. I like the way Mason Jones has come back. You know, a lot of people, when you go back when Mason was recruited, had a lot of question marks from this young man out of Connors Junior College. Was an overweight guard coming out of high school. Not a lot of recruiting interest. Brother played at Duke. Sister played at Texas A&M. But both were very, very good basketball players. But all Mason Jones has done was just go to work and grind each and every ball game, and that dates back to his initial sophomore campaign a season ago with this basketball team. But I like the growth where this team is, and I think this team, you know, when you pin me down, I think this team's going to be. I'm going to go ahead and hedge around that 4-2. I'll be like you, Demetrius. I'll go 4-2 as well. But we got Shay Hubbard. She's watching. What's up? We got, and also too, want to give a shout out. Shay Hubbard was the first initial OTH purchaser of our new OTH swag. So I want to say thank you. Your shirt's on the way, Shay. When you get it, rep it out real good. Also too, want to give a shout out to Terry Roy. He's always there, D. Every time we're on, Mr. Roy's on with us. Also too, Larry Brown, LB. He sends out a WPS. Now on to the football, as we'll get in and just chime in with all your questions as you see fit for whatever you want to comment. Demetrius and I will definitely try to answer your questions to the fullest. Initial staff, $5.025 million on the initial Arkansas Razorback football staff for Sam Pittman. I think it's about where you need to be, Demetrius. You've heard me rant and rave for how many years now that Arkansas had to up the ante and get into big boy football. It came out about a week or so ago. Arkansas is one of 6 Power 5 schools to have both offensive and defensive coordinators make $1 million. You know, talk about that right now, Demetrius. I mean, you know, how much was having Sam be your head coach and be able to pull this off? If you look across the country, a lot of people, we talked about this yesterday, aren't scratching their head about this Sam Pittman hire anymore.
Not at all. You know, when you look at the budget and a guy like Sam Pittman and the track record he has and coming from the prestigious programs like Oklahoma, like a Georgia, you have no choice but to give him the budget he needs because he's seen programs that compete at a high level spend this type of money and go get the guys that are needed. And then second, like I like to shout you out because you've been talking about this. Even when Brett Bielema was here and the departure of Sam Pittman, you said Sam would not come back unless he was the head coach. So for all everyone wanting to know who was really speaking on Sam Pittman, Pat really has been speaking on Sam Pittman for a couple of years now. So for it to really come to fruition and really see him take this head job, it really shows me you're really kind of tied in with what's going on here at Arkansas.
Coach Terry Roy, Demetrius, has a question. I want to read this out. Got a question for y'all concerning the Rooney Rule. Why in 2020 do we need a rule for people to do what should automatically happen? And do y'all think it should apply to college? And should Arkansas have hired an African-American coach? I think that Rooney Rule is, it's stupid. I'm just going to put it out there. I think that's just, it's kind of very disrespectful to the minorities. I mean, it's basically saying that, we're going to give you an interview, a token interview. How interested we are, we don't know, but we're just going to give you this interview to kind of reach status quo. Should Arkansas have hired an African-American coach? I think they got it right. I think that when you see Hunter Yurachek, I think Hunter Yurachek is going to be that AD that's going to hire the best coach or coaches that he sees fit that are going to come in here and make the biggest impact for these student athletes at the University of Arkansas, both in the present and future going forward. So, I feel like Arkansas has had their fair share of African-American coaches, more so in football. In basketball, I should say, as we've had Stan Heath, Nola Richardson, Mike Anderson. But I just feel like the best coaches need to be hired, regardless of gender, race, or whatever. I think you hire the most qualified. Where are you at with that? The Rooney Rule.
Like you said, I think you kind of said it was kind of just to say, hey, we did it and we gave you all a try. But to really be considered as a candidate, I think it was just put in place to kind of shut some people up and say, hey, I gave you what you wanted. Be careful what you ask for, and make sure you ask for a more direct request. But anyways, I think they did get it right for as far as Arkansas. I think Sam Pittman was a great candidate from what I know, and the only other person that I would have been interested that was the African American, I would say, is Charlie Strong.
Right.
But I don't necessarily know if Charlie Strong would have been a good fit for Arkansas. I can honestly say that.
I like the diversity of this staff with the coaches that Sam was able to hire. It shows, you have to get it. In particular, of all conferences, you have to get it in the South. I mean, and I feel like, being an African American myself and having a mom that is African American, in case you didn't know, knock on wood, but Demetrius, that's real important to the moms and dads whom have these kids that are going to be highly recruited throughout the Southeastern Conference schools, football, basketball, track, whatever the sport may be. I mean, it's very essential to be very diverse because I'm telling you, when you bring that kid on campus, the first thing his mom wants to know, if he's 7-8 hours away, is how diverse and how comfortable can I feel with leaving my son in an environment that is somewhat conducive to what he's accustomed to being in. I mean, don't you get is that how you feel as well? Because like I said, I think with Sam doing what he's done, I think that right there puts him on level playing surface for not only this year, but for years going forward.
Definitely, like we talked on yesterday's show, I think Sam went and got guys that really could benefit him and guys that were experts in areas that he was kind of weak in. That's what we mentioned Barry Odom. He hired Barry Odom to pretty much be the face of the defense. Hey, guy, I'm putting you in charge as far as what's going to happen. Go ahead,
this is a good topic. Derek and Saeed from North Little Rock, once again, a very loyal listener and supporter of OTH. He says he agrees with the Rooney Rule. It's pointless if it doesn't have substance. I totally agree. I mean, if you're not really serious about hiring that candidate, be it whatever minority, and not all candidates are of African American descent. I want that to be stated. And we're not sitting here and trying to, just be pro African American. That's not what we're saying. But but my point is, if you're gonna, make sure that this guy or he or she is a very viable candidate when you bring him in for the interview. That's all I'm saying. Is don't just throw stuff on the wall just to see what kind of mess you can make. Bring that candidate in with a legitimate chance to get that job. I think that's what has to start taking place.
Absolutely, and I have to shout Sam Pittman out because if I can recall, I think an African American was the first hire he had on his staff.
Right.
That being, the offensive line hire, and he's probably one of the highest paid, position coaches out there right now. Making $500,000, and I don't think he's
the only $500,000 coach on staff outside of your two coordinators, Kendall Brawls and Barry Odom. He's the only one making over $500,000.
So I like what Sam Pittman's bringing to the table, and I like the way he's brought diversity amongst the recruiting board. Because, like you said, you have to have guys that can relate, and I think he did it not only select the right guys. I think he did it in the right positions because I think that's another crucial thing. You have to go get guys in the right position.
Right.
So I like what Sam Pittman is. I think you really won't know how everything's going to work out until we see that game. But I think when you're talking about the effort put in right now, the effort and results they match right now, and they're looking up for Sam Pittman.
Well, we're going to step away, get us a real quick break. We caught up today in media availability with junior super sensational guard Mason Jones. He talks about the LSU preview and has a couple of things he liked to share with just his relationship, Coach Eric Musselman to player to coach. All that's coming up, and then we got much more. You want to chime in about Coach Pittman? Any surprises? Any concerns? What are you looking forward to? The basketball team. Where are you at right now, and what's the outlook? 6 games in, where do you anticipate this ball club to be? All that's coming up. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
Scoring, rebounding, assist, and steals. Open up questions for Mason.
Mason, you guys obviously have played pretty well on the road this year. You wanted LSU last year. So what's the feeling going on the road? How confident are you guys getting? How will you play on the road in one LSU?
Well, we're very confident that we can go in LSU and get a win, but we're not looking past them, and we're really excited for the journey and the game coming up tomorrow. So we just want to go in and play hard and just be prepared as possible, knowing that LSU is going to try to beat us because we went in last year and beat them at their place. So we're very intrigued about the game, and we're really ready to play them, and I know they're excited to play us too.
What do you remember from Skylar Mays and Javante Smart from last year?
Two crafty, real good guards that can really take over a game, and they're really good. One of the probably best two players that SC can offer, and they're the best two players on our team, so we know they're going to be real aggressive coming out, and they're going to try to set the tone real early.
Yeah, Mason, your thoughts from last year's game, because you had a big contribution late in the game, and just, what it felt is they were on a roll at that point,
Last year was just kind of different because we was on a losing streak, and we just wanted to go in and get a good dub for our team last year. But last year was a good win, and it was probably one of the best we had as a young team last year. But that was last year, and we're looking forward to tomorrow's game and just intrigued on how they're going to play and how Skylar Mays and Javante Smart is going to try to kill us and just start competing away from them.
Mason, a couple weeks ago, I think you tweeted that you wished more people understood your relationship with Musk. Could you maybe expound on that and how he's kind of pushed you to maybe find some more consistency in your game?
Coach Musk was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me probably in my career, because this year has been nothing but as I planned and as I wanted. As I talked to him when he first got here, I told Coach Musk that I wanted to be more consistent, I wanted to be great, and I wanted you to push me to be a pro, and he has did nothing.
Welcome back. It's our Tuesday edition here of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio here on KDSJ 479. And real quick, want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, as this would not be possible without you all. And that being said, Lindsay & Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting. Anything commercial, residential, call Corey Beck. You won't be disappointed. He did ours, and I'm very, very pleased, and I'm sure you will too. And lastly, KDK's Chicken. That's at 989 South Razorback Road. Catch up with Keith and Kathy. Go get a plate of that love. And like they say, not your mama's. Best chicken and waffles in the South. But we let you hear audio from junior shooting guard and a guy that's having a very, very tremendous season to this point. Mason Jones talked about his relationship with Eric Musselman and just this basketball team. There's a different maturity level with this team, and I feel like each and every time they go out on the court, this group is playing with a chip on its shoulder. This was a very maligned group, went through a lot of hard times last year, being predominantly sophomores and freshmen. But you can kind of tell in tight moments, Demetrius, that they drew from last year's experiences. I mean, don't get nervous. I'll tell you, defensively, they understand who they are, and that to me shows the biggest growth from year one to year two from the chemistry standpoint is that they, you don't see a lot of panicking. Last year, we all know that this team was pretty much front runners. If the shots weren't falling, they really didn't have the desire to go out and play stifling defense, but that's not been the case this year. I mean, this is a very, very excellent defensive team, and a guy that I really feel like has, been the leader of the group, doesn't get a lot of the all the hype, and that's Adriel Bailey. I mean, Adriel's come out his senior year and done whatever Coach Muss and that staff have asked. I mean, been an undersized five-man all season, will be that way throughout the year. But, Demetrius, when you look at a guy like, Adriel, who's maybe not, NBA type, could play some professional ball. I mean, let's make that a note. But what does that say about just what Coach Musselman and this staff have been able to achieve with this team in such short of time?
I think he established everybody with a role. I think that was what was kind of missing last year. When you looked at the team, you didn't really know who played what position because guys were doing things that their position didn't require them to do. You see, Adria Bailey shooting threes, and it's like, okay, Adria, that's really not in your ball game. You still kind of see him take shots that aren't really inside his game, but I think now everybody within the team has an identity, so it really helped with the overall identity of the team going into this year as far as what players can and couldn't do, and then who are your leaders, and then who to give the ball to in clutch moments. So I think guys just really understand what each other can do, and that helped really build the overall product.
I want to give a shout out to Steve Wilson, who's tuning in to the show all the way from Colorado. Hope you're having a great day, Steve, and thanks for joining in. But when you go back to the football staff, and I want to really get off into this staff, and first I want to bring up Kendall Briles. This is a guy that's highly, highly, highly proven on the collegiate level, Power 5, as far as being an offensive coordinator. And when you think back to this football program over the last couple of years, Demetrius, what's been the one thing that this team has really lacked offensively, in your opinion?
I honestly say offensive line. A lot of people may say quarterback, but I think when you look at even like Brandon Allen, I think when you look at maybe like the last, we can even say, 10 years, those guys really put up some numbers. And then looking back, those guys were able to really compete on the next level. So you have to give them credit. No, they weren't a Lamar Jackson or, a Tua Tagovailoa when you look at quarterbacks, or even a Joe Burrow when you look at quarterbacks within the SEC. But I think when you talk about quarterbacks that have come to Arkansas and produced, those guys, the Allen brothers, produced on a high level. So I'd have to say offensive line. That's the one thing that's been missing from Arkansas, or the consistency at offensive line is what's been missing here at Arkansas.
And now we're going to get with Steve because he makes another great point. Steve Wilson from Colorado says, I haven't noticed a large number of kids decommitting or in the transfer portal. Now, he also says it's a testament to Coach Pittman, and I wholeheartedly agree with you on that, Mr. Wilson. I really believe that Coach Pittman and this staff give off the the trust factor that these kids are really wanting to buy into. I mean, they have a direction. You can see it when you're over and you talk to the kids out and about town. I mean, it's just a different type of urgency. It's a very, very comfortable urgency. It's a hungry urgency. I think that you'll definitely, like you said, Demetrius, you'll see in the way that they practice, the way that they play. This team will be. I'm going to say it again. I've been a Pittman guy from jump, won't stop now. From day one, in the very first game, you'll notice the Sam Pittman type of football team that's going to be very disciplined, fundamentally sound, and they're going to play with a nastiness about themselves. They'll play with that edge, and I think that's something this football team, long overdue, needed. The competition in each and every room, I think, is going to go up. I anticipate us to really see an infusion of talent in the offensive and defensive lines this year. I just feel like the temperature will be raised even higher in this football program, and you'll start to see some of that young inexperience that Chad and those guys had to play start to come out, because I think it's just going to be better coaching. Let's just be blunt, Demetrius. It's going to be better coaching. I think these kids are going to be put in situations to have a lot of success, play in and play out. In particular, Mateo Soli, I think he's going to have like an astronomical year under Barry Odom and his tutelage and the defensive scheme that he'll be able to be a part of.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think they have a lot of good pieces to really work with. I think they have a infused staff of young and old talent. As far as like experience from coaching, and then the younger guys to really make that connection with the players.
Next up, we're going to talk about Jimmy Smith, and my question to you as running backs coach, Jimmy Smith, well-known high school football coach in the state of Georgia, very, very well respected throughout that state, and in particular in a hotbed area, that being the Atlanta area, where so many top flight football players that scatter throughout all Power 5 schools. I think that's going to be something. Having a guy with Jimmy of his stature, you saw the social media video he did a couple of days ago. What's your first take on Jimmy as your running backs coach on this staff? How do you think he's going to impact this program?
He seems like a guy that you want to play for. The first thing that he said was, if you ball out, I'm going to come find you. That right there tells me, he wants guys that can really. When you're a running back coach, you want somebody that's electrifying. You want
Right.
somebody that's really gonna, have the crowd oohing and ahhing. So it tells me what type of backs and what type of skill positions we're really gonna go get at the running back position.
Ebony Jackson is a young man, 6'1", 220 pound, class of 20 running back out of the state of Georgia that will be taking an official visit to the university on the 17th, the big weekend that Arkansas is going to have a lot of big-time prospects on campus for Sam Pittman and that staff. So Ebony Jackson, you're already starting to see it. Arkansas is really going to put a high emphasis, I believe, Demetrius, in the South, the state of Georgia, and having Scott Fountain, Sam Pittman, Jimmy Smith, all that's got ties in that state of Georgia. I think they're really going to, reap some of the rewards. And then you look over at Louisiana with Brad Davis, offensive line coach, Derek LeBlanc, another coach out of the Louisiana area. I mean, they're going to really emphasize those two states because they have a plethora of not only great college talent, but future NFL talent. And I think every college in America wants to get into those two states. And Arkansas is going to make, they're going to put their foot in. Sam made that in our press conference, Demetrius. He told us, if there's a 5-star out there, you're probably going to see an offer from Arkansas right beside his name as well. I mean, I like his aggressiveness and the way that I believe he's going to recruit. But we're going to move on to Brad Davis, the offensive line coach, the very first hire to the Sam Pittman Razorback staff. And talk about Brad, Demetrius. He's a Baton Rouge young man, born and raised in Louisiana, played at Oklahoma, was recruited to Oklahoma by Coach Sam Pittman, has had some experience at coaching at Florida and Missouri. Talk about his impact and what you think he's going to be able to bring to the table.
Like I said earlier, the coaching staff has a good mixture of young and old guys, and he's kind of on that younger end, that guys that can really relate to these guys just coming up, not too far removed from college football. So I think one, it gives him a hands-on approach. With most coaches, you just hear verbal actions, but a guy like him, I think he's going to be able to get in the trenches and get hands-on with these guys. Not saying he's going to suit up and go head up with them, but I think he's really going to be able to be very physical with these guys to the point to where he can get in there and kind of really show them how it's supposed to be done from offensive lineman standpoint. And not only that, can correlate that to game time experience. It's one thing for a coach to that's never played the game to really kind of try to coach you up, but
right.
For a guy that competed at the high level and then played against top tier talent, it's really good because he always has those little nuances that can really make you a great player.
And we want to make a note, Demetrius, we talked about the OTA shirts in here earlier. For those that have just tuned in, Shea Hubbard of the Texas area was our very first purchase of the OTH T-shirts. I'm going to kick it over to my producer, and we can give you more information on, though, if you have, would like to purchase one of these. How can they get that shirt, Demetrius, that On the Hill Let's Get It? Because I'm pretty snazzy. You did a great job on that. I'd give all credit to my producer for the design of this shirt, but give our listeners, the information that maybe they might need to purchase some of that good, as you call it, merch.
Yeah, definitely. This is the new design for the on the Hill. Let's Get It is one of Pat's favorite quotes. If you watch the show, you hear him say it a lot. So we just decided to throw it on a shirt. So this is a design that comes in multiple colors.
Sweatshirts too, ain't it?
Yeah, sweatshirts too. So if you want to check it out, go to saucedupentertainment.myshopify.com. I leave a link on our website at the end of every show. So if you want to catch it, you can go on there and you will see the sweatshirt.
Hey, we purchased ours, baby. We'll have ours on soon.
Yeah, we will be having them come to the show real soon. So you'll see them live and direct online. So if you get a chance, go to that website. I'll be sure to drop it in the comments as well. So if you get time, go check that website out.
We like interaction with all our listeners and viewers, as tomorrow we'll get into bringing on our guest, the 411 Otis Kirk of hogville.net. Otis will be joining us. We're going to break down the coaching staff with Otis and talk a little recruiting, some of the players that will be making their way to Fayetteville, and check out the pit boss and his staff. Check out their program. All that will be up tomorrow. But I want to give a shout out as we're going to conclude today's show. Also, too, let everyone know if you can't catch us here on our Facebook page, you can also catch us on our YouTube channel. That's On the Hill Sports Talk LLC. You can also catch us on iHeartRadio, And lastly, our newest edition, you can catch us on Spotify. Those are all of our social media outlets that you can catch OTH on. But I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville and office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting. And lastly, KDK's Chicken. Just head down to 989 South Razorback Road. Go see Keith and Kathy. And like I said, it's not your mama's. The best chicken and waffles in the South. But for my producer, Demetrius Johnson, and myself, we'll be back tomorrow with much, much more. We love all of our contents. Thanks for just keep them coming. Keep the questions coming. We love talking to you all. But for now, we're going to check out because we got more stuff that we want to bring to you on the Hill. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. And real quick, if you want to tune in tonight, we'll be doing the play-by-play on Red Dirt 106.1, the Fayetteville Bulldogs to take on the Bentonville West Wolverines. Tip-off for the girls' game we'll come on air at 5:45. Tip-off at 6 o'clock, followed by the boys 7:30. So be sure and tune in. You can catch that on the Android or the iPhone app. Just go down and